Hello everyone. I am Christian and I am happy to present to you our project entitled Promoting Health Equality Interprofessional Telerehabilitation for Persons with Disabilities in the Philippines. For this particular presentation, I called it From Insight to Impact, USTCRS's LibreHab Experiences. As I go through with the presentation, I'll try to explain what LibreHab means, I will present our institution, the USCCRS, and our experience for this Vlir US Short Initiative project. So first, I would like to introduce first our team. The team that came from different institutions, those from Belgium, Thomas More University of Applied Sciences from KU Leuven, and here in the Philippines, we have the University of Santo Tomas, and we also have our partner community from the municipality of Binangonan in the province of Rizal. So I'd like to introduce our country first. The Philippines, as you can see in this photo on the left side, it's made up of 7,000 plus islands. In total, it's actually 7,641 islands. So it's an archipelago. And in that circle, in that small circle, it's being zoomed there. You can see where the University of Santo Tomas is. And the municipality of Binangonan, Rizal is somewhere there on the down right area. So I will introduce first our university, the Pontifical and Royal University of Santo Tomas. It's the Catholic University of the Philippines, and it's comprised of different colleges, and one of which is the College of Rehabilitation Sciences. There's also an office in the university that is tasked to do community development activities, and that is now the Simbahayan Community Development Office. So the mission of our university, to put emphasis, is on the formation of a competent and compassionate persons committed to the service of the church, the nation, and the global community. I am highlighting this portion of our mission because this is aligned with our project. The university also envisions itself to be excellent when it comes to honing our students, our stakeholders for social transformation. The College of Rehabilitation Sciences is comprised of the following courses. We have the Bachelor of Science in Physical Therapy, Occupational Therapy, Speech Language Pathology, and Sport Science. In the
Christian?
College of
Yeah.
Rehabilitation Sciences, oh
Christian,
yes,
sorry,
sorry.
sorry to interrupt, but it seems that your presentation is just one slide behind what you're talking about and what we see, or maybe it's
Oh,
just in my no. So now we see the slide of the College of Rehabilitation Sciences. Is that correct now?
yes,
Okay,
that's
then
correct.
we are yes,
So for the College of Rehabilitation Sciences, I hope that you're seeing the four quadrants here of the different courses that
yes,
we have. So
yes.
we have the physical therapy, occupational therapy, speech language pathology, and sports science. So in our college, we have a program called Libre Hab. So this is our community development program at the College of Rehabilitation Sciences. Libre is actually a Tagalog or Filipino word for free. So it's actually about free rehabilitation services that we provide for our partner communities. But the lib part also stands for the word liberating because we want to liberate those people who are in need of our help, especially those with disabilities. So for the LibreHab program of the College of Rehabilitation Sciences, it is anchored on the community-based rehabilitation or CBR guidelines of the World Health Organization. As you can see here, we have here the CBR matrix that is formed by the health, education, livelihood, social, and empowerment. And this project is anchored in the CBR matrix because it doesn't just address the health aspect of disability. We also include here education, even the social and empowerment aspects. So next, I'd just like to introduce our community development office in the university, and we call it Simbahayan. Simbahayan is actually a contraption of the words simbahan, bahay, and bayan. Simbahan stands for the church, bahay for home, and bayan for the nation or the country. So the Simbahayan Community Development Office is the one that is tasked to develop, implement, and manage community development activities in our university. The Simbahayan Community Development Office is being guided by its social transformation framework, wherein the community development activities are aligned with the instructions or the academics and also with the researches that we are doing, and all of which are geared towards the achievement of social transformation. So I hope that I was able to introduce now our university, the University of Santo Tomas. So next, I'll just give a brief background about our partner community, which is the municipality of Binangonan from the province of Rizal. So Binangonan is actually a Tagalog word which stands for a place where something or someone has voluntarily risen. So this municipality lies between the foothills of our mountains here in Luzon, and 65% of Binangonan is hilly, whereas 35% of it is plain. The total land area is about 73 square kilometers. And as you will notice, most of the land area is used for agriculture and for livestock. And since it is close to the lake, we call it the Laguna de Bay, so we also have the coastal barangays from the Talim Island, wherein fishing and aquaculture are the usual livelihood. The municipality of Binangonan is comprised of 40 barangays, 23 of which are from the mainland and 17 are the island barangays. So for this particular project, we are particularly focused on the island barangays, these 17 island barangays. If you will see on the photo on the right side, these are the 17 island barangays of Talim Island. So we call this island the Talim. Um, and each of these barangays have their own ports, which I will show in a while, because in order for us to reach this area, we still need to ride a boat and we still need to dock on these ports. So I hope that you can see now the picture in the video here. So in the video, you can see that in order for you to reach these barangays, we still need to ride the boat. These are usually small boats that we call bangka here in the Philippines. So by the time you reach the barangay, you will see that they have the small port there, and each of these 17 barangays have their respective ports. So I hope that I was able to introduce also the municipality of Binangonan. So after introducing our university and Binangonan, I'd like also to present our team. This is now the project management structure for this VLIR UOS short initiative project. It's comprised of our core team, who are in charge of the preparation and the monitoring of the project execution. We also have our CRS research group, which is tasked to conduct the research studies for this project. We have external experts who provides training to our research group members. And we also have our steering committee who are in charge of the project monitoring and also of the implementation. Then we have the multi-stakeholders platform, or we call it the MSP, who are tasked to disseminate and to serve as a bridge to our beneficiaries. So this multi-stakeholders platform is actually evolving because as time goes by, people or some other groups are being included in the MSP because we have a growing network for this project. So for the following slides, I would just like to present here the different members. So for our core project team, that includes me, Kirsten, Doreen, Dean Ann, Assistant Dean Gigi. Then we have also Nila, Tom, and Wim. Then we have the steering committee. So here in this photo, you can see that the members of the steering committee also went to Binangonan in order for us to meet together. And we also conducted some online meetings. Then we have the research team. So these are the people who are in charge of doing the research outputs and the implementation of the researches in this project. Then we also have here our experts who provided trainings to the research members. So in this photo on the left side, you can see it's Nila, and on the right side, it's Tom. And that these photos were taken when we did our training in Belgium. So now we also have some institutions who provide support to our project. So first, from the local government of Binangonan, Rizal, so we have the full support from its mayor, Mayor Cesar Inares. So here on the upper left hand side of this slide, you can see at the center, it's Mayor Cesar Inares, along with other officials of the local government of Binangonan. Next, we also have the support from the Ambassador of the Belgium to the Philippines, His Excellency Michel Paris. So last January 16, we did an official courtesy meeting with him to present the project. And aside from that, we also have the Philippine Ambassador Extraordinary and Plenipotentiary to Belgium, Luxembourg, and the European Union. And His Excellency Jaime Victor B. Leda. So last October 3, 2024, we had our official courtesy meeting at the Philippine Embassy in Belgium. And similarly, we also presented our project, and our ambassadors actually showed or expressed their support for this project. So now, let's go to the project. So for our project, let's start off with the context. Why are we doing this project? So the Philippines, as you saw a while ago, is an archipelago. It is made up of different islands. So to be exact, it's 7,641 islands. And not all of these islands have good access to healthcare services. And that includes rehabilitation. So most of the Filipinos reside on these islands who do not have direct access to these healthcare services. Aside from that, there's the absence or even shortage of healthcare professionals to these areas. So that's why we call these the disadvantaged areas. GIDA, which stands for Geographically Isolated and Disadvantaged Area, is a terminology that we use here in the Philippines that refers to the rural areas in our country. So we can see that for these GIDA areas, there are transportation barriers. So we can see in this video, so you can see in this video that they are trying to transfer a wheelchair-borne patient from the bangka or the small boat that I mentioned a while ago. And it takes about 4 to 6 people to transfer the wheelchair-bound patient from the boat going to the land area. So imagine that these persons with disabilities are really having issues or problems when it comes to transportation, when it comes to being transported from one area to another, and that becomes a problem now for them in order for them to receive the healthcare services. Aside from that, it takes higher cost for them to travel. So in order for them to reach the mainland, wherein all the healthcare services are concentrated, they still need to spend money. So they need to transport, to pay their transportation fees. They need to leave from their work. They need to pay for all the other services that they need in order for them to be transported to these health facilities. Another context that I would like to present is the lack of accurate, updated, and comprehensive data for disability. So as you can see, it's actually a global concern here in the Philippines. It was even presented as a headline in one of our news article wherein there is poor data management that is being faced here in our country. And this one came from the House panel on the persons with disability. So they said that there's a lack of clear data on disability in the community in the Philippines. And the Department of Health, they have their data about persons with disability. They have these numbers, and you can see it on the lower left-hand corner. However, they also claim that this is not totally accurate because they admit that they haven't reached all of the PWDs, especially those from the GIDA area.
Sorry,
So how does
Christian,
that affect?
excuse me,
Sorry.
sorry. We still see the slide with the video on it.
Oh,
Uh,
okay, sorry.
Go forward
So
and
I
back.
hope I hope that the slide moved now.
No, not yet.
How
Yes,
about it?
yes. Lack of
It
technology literacy. Yes.
Okay, so here you can see that the lack of accurate, updated, and comprehensive data for disability could also affect the healthcare system. So we have here the inaccessibility of the healthcare services, the inefficient healthcare planning, then we have the limited healthcare access, and the poor resource allocations that surface as a problem here in the Philippines. So next now is the lack of technological literacy. So for the lack of technological literacy, it also affects the healthcare system because there's now the limited adoption of the telehealth, which is supposed to address the geographic isolation that I mentioned a while ago. But because of the technological limitations that we have on these rural areas, that includes the limited access to technology, to the internet connection, and even the misinformation and the disinformation. A lot of Filipino people are still faced on these issues of misinformation and disinformation, probably because we have an easy access to the social media. Most of the Filipinos, especially those from the provinces, easily believes what they see on social media. So sometimes they do not have the luxury to criticize these postings that they can read from the social media. So that's why it leads to mis and disinformation.
Christian, we now see already the social stigma slide. So, and now we
I,
see the technical, yeah, now
yes,
we see the
I'm so
technical.
sorry.
Yes, now it's okay. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, apologies for those technical issues. So I believe it's on my laptop. So right now it's about the social stigma. Another issue is that this stigma also affects the healthcare system because it results to delayed and denied access to the healthcare services, including rehabilitation. So this stigma refers to the stereotypes or even the labeling of the persons with disabilities that leads to social isolation or exclusion from the community. And what's the effect now on the PWDs? It results to psychological and emotional impacts, and even to hesitation in receiving rehabilitation services. Then next, another issue is the connectivity barrier that also affects the healthcare system because of the poor video and audio quality during telerehabilitation caused by the poor internet connection. And it could also result to interrupted transmission of the data or information, which results to an inefficient remote patient monitoring. And this results now to the social issue of digital divide that further widens the gap between the services that the PWDs should be receiving. The connectivity barrier could also result to security and privacy risks, and even to loss of interest by the patients and the healthcare providers in adopting the tele-rehabilitation. So to summarize, we have these 5 issues that we presented in the context of the Philippines. We have the geographically isolated and disadvantaged area, lack of accurate, updated, comprehensive data, lack of technological literacy. We also have the social stigma and the connectivity barriers. So what is the effect now on the persons with disabilities or PWDs? It results now to exclusion, discrimination, and inequality. Considering these issues, we now want to address them. So, for the geographically isolated and disadvantaged area, we want to create a good scientific telerehabilitation protocol for this project so that we can address that issue. So for the lack of accurate, updated, and comprehensive data, we want to develop an accurate, updated, and comprehensive data through disability profiling. Then for the lack of technological literacy, by conducting digital literacy programs. Then to address social stigma, we want to promote advocacy and awareness campaigns on disability. And to address connectivity barriers, we will use and maximize the offline and low bandwidth telerehabilitation platforms for our telerehabilitation protocol. So given this context, I would like to present again here our project. So I hope that the slide shifted now. So it's entitled, again, Promoting Health Equality Interprofessional Telerehabilitation for Persons with Disabilities in the Philippines. So we would like to highlight on the word equality. Therefore, our objective now is to pave the way for an effective interprofessional telerehabilitation for adult persons with disabilities in the Philippine remote areas by empowering both local stakeholders and the College of Rehabilitation Sciences at UST through the multi-higher educational institution partnership of Thomas More and KU Leuven. So in this particular slide, we followed the theory of change. So we started off by going back on the context. So we have the local context in Binangonan and the institutional context at the University of Santo Tomas. So in Binangonan, we can see that there's the lack of sustainable access to telerehabilitation services for persons with disabilities in Binangonan. And in UST-CRS, we have the limited capacity to combine evidence-based research and application to respond to the community needs. Given these contexts, we came up with these activities and outputs for this short initiative project. So we will be doing situational analysis, trainings, formation of the research group, the interprofessional collaboration, and even the recommendation report to the local government units. So following the following heading, we have the research programs and methods that are interdisciplinary in nature. We have education programs to strengthen the educational capacity of the university. We have the outreach wherein we have the uptake, profiling, and telerehabilitation. Then the increased capacity of the people who are involved in this project. And by establishing a multi-stakeholders platform so that we can improve the network and partnership of all the involved stakeholders. So all of these activities, outputs, and outcomes are all pointing towards to the impact that we want to achieve in this project. So the first impact on Binangonan is we want the persons with disabilities in challenging environments to have access to the evidence-based telerehabilitation to address their healthcare needs. And for the UST, the impact that we want to achieve is to have a more research-active institution that is innovative and resourceful for a more effective telerehabilitation provision to our partner. So I would like to highlight first on the local context on Binangonan and the impact that we want to achieve here. So we want to have an evidence-based telerehabilitation service. In order to do that, we needed to have a good and accurate disability profile first. Because it would be very difficult to come up with a telerehabilitation protocol if we do not have a good profile of disability on that area. So knowing that that was a limitation before of the municipality, so that's why we are also helping them in coming up with an accurate disability profile in Binangonan. So that's the first step. Then next is the telerehabilitation, development of the telerehabilitation protocol. And these things are being conducted following the CBR principles, and it follows the cycle of situational analysis, planning and design, implementation and monitoring and evaluation so that we could achieve an effective evidence-based telerehabilitation service. So, first, I would like to focus on disability profiling. So what is disability profiling? A disability profile is actually a comprehensive report that describes the prevalence, types of disabilities on a particular population or area. It provides an evidence-based understanding of the multifaceted nature of disabilities, and it will be useful for policy development, healthcare service provision, and even community-based programs. So in this project, we are adapting the Philippine Department of Health Registry for Persons with Disability version 4.0 in our disability profiling because we wanted to be aligned. We want to align our project with what our government is also doing. So this is the form that is being used by all the municipalities here in the Philippines. But I would like to particularly highlight the one in the red box here. So I zoomed it below and we can see here the different types of disabilities. So we really want to have a good profile of the types of disabilities in Talim Island for the 17 barangays. So in order for us to do that, we need to conduct this disability profiling. How do we do that now? So we do that by using the HUDAS 2.0, or this one is adapted from the World Health Organization. HUDAS 2.0 stands for WHO Disability Assessment Schedule 2.0. That is a standardized generic assessment that is used for profiling disabilities. So this Hudas 2.0 has a Filipino version, the Tagalog version. So it's the one that we are using when we do our disability profiling in Talim Island. And the Tagalog version has a good psychometric property because the reliability, the test-retest reliability, and even the face validity, the content measures, and the validity of this tool was already studied by other researchers. So here in this slide, you can see that disability profiling was conducted by doing door-to-door survey, wherein the researchers visited these PWDs on their respective homes. So we asked for the assistance of the barangay health workers or the BHWs and the community-based rehabilitation workers or the CBRWs. So as you can see in the photos, if the PWD cannot provide the information due to some intellectual or mental issues. So we ask the assistance and guidance of their legally authorized representatives. So they have their parents, sometimes their grandparents, or even their spouse. So before we conduct the disability profiling, we administer first the mini mental state evaluation so that we could determine if the person is really a reliable source of information. And depending on the score of the MMSE, if the score falls below 24, then we will just do the disability profiling or conduct the interview or survey through their legally authorized representatives. So next, going back to this diagram here, after the disability profile, we now have the telerehabilitation protocol. So for telerehabilitation, it is actually part of the telehealth system. So that's telerehabilitation. Along with telerehabilitation, we have the digital health, e-health, and even the mobile health. I am presenting all these terminologies because these are the things that we will be adapting for this project. So in this particular slide, we can see the complexity levels of telehealth. From level 1, meaning those that are very easy to use, the less complex ones, up to the level 5, which are the highly complicated technologies that we have. So, looking at the context a while ago of Binangonan, since they have issues on internet connections, on connections, then probably we could highlight the use of levels 1, 2, and 3 for our telehealth services. So, again, the reason why we chose levels 1, 2, and 3 is because we did our needs assessment and we found that most of them have issues on internet connections. So our telerehabilitation program here in this project is also being guided by the telerehabilitation programs in the Philippines. So they also presented the different challenges of telerehabilitation in a developing country that includes the Philippines. And I think they are aligned with the contexts that I presented a while ago. And they were divided into human factors, organizational, and technical factors. Aside from that, we can also see some internal and external challenges that we can face when we do telerehabilitation. And all of these things will be taken into consideration in this project because we will also look at the facilitators and barriers for the conduct of telerehabilitation. So for this project, we plan to come up with our telerehabilitation protocol. So to start it off, we came up with a consensus definition of telerehabilitation. So on our team, we now define telerehabilitation as a system for the control or monitoring of remote rehabilitation using telecommunication technologies, the purpose of which is to increase accessibility and to improve the continuity of care. So, through the help of Nila, we were able to come up also with an article about the mapping of telerehabilitation activities and the development of the consensus definition. So we came up with this definition by doing series of workshops, wherein personas for model application were used. We did our reflection, we did our small group discussions, and we have also the facilitated discussions. And by doing all of these activities, we were able to design now a tailored UTAUT or UTAUT working model for our team. And that UTAUT model was actually presented and presented in the Procedure Computer Science by Nila. And our team is very happy that we were able to do this. So for that article, we just want to highlight that we were able to identify additional factors that we might want to consider in our project, and that includes the resistance to change, time value, and health prioritization, in addition to the usual UTOT factors UTOT factors. Aside from that, as a moderator, it seems that education is also an additional thing in the context of the Philippines. So now, as you can see here, from the local context of Binangonan, we will now go to the institutional context of USTCRS. So for USTCRS, we want to conduct training workshops. We want to adapt these learnings to our USTCRS courses and to also strengthen the interprofessional collaboration. So in this slide, you can see the training workshops were conducted last January 8 to 10. So the research team were trained on about the UTOT model, about the definitions, and about the facilitators and barriers when it comes to telerehabilitation. So the slide previously was done here in the Philippines, but we also did training workshops in Belgium, wherein we got to experience the Experience Hub in Thomas More. So Tom presented to us how we can actually use it so that we can maximize it in our telerehabilitation protocol. So Nila also guided us on how to further incorporate the UTOT model, so the one that we contextualize in the Philippines in our project. But of course, challenges are inevitable. So we encountered these issues along the way as we conduct this project. The Philippines, being in the tropical area, is usually facing lots of typhoons. So usually these weather conditions seems to be is a barrier that we usually face each time we travel to the island. We want also to highlight the safety and security of the researchers and even of all the people who are involved in this project. So we need to closely monitor the weather conditions before we go to the island. So there was that one time when we are supposed to do our disability profiling. However, as you can see here on the slide, there's a typhoon during that time. So we weren't able to proceed on some other days because of the typhoon signals that were raised in our country and even in Binangonan, Rizal. So that's a problem because we needed to reschedule again our data gathering, our disability profiling, and all of the activities that we are doing in Binangonan, in Talim Island. We need to do some rescheduling. Another issue that we encountered, though it was presented already in the context a while ago, is the issue of connectivity. We know that we are dealing with data in this project. So we also need to transmit these data, these information, so that we will be able to analyze them. But because of the connectivity issues there, so we opted to go for an asynchronous mode of saving these information. So we maximize now the iPads and even the laptops that we used for this project. And what we did is we just tried to save these information first while we do not have good internet connection. And by the time we have good internet connection, that's the time that we try to retrieve them and analyze these information. So it takes time. It's not a real-time analysis that we are doing, because sometimes we need to have good internet connection first so that we will be able to analyze them. So what are the future plans now? So in the future we want to co-create and to have a good telerehabilitation toolkit for adult PWDs here in this project. Then we will still do our integration of insights to select USTCRS courses so that these courses will be able to adapt them in their academic activities. Then we want to improve further the multi-stakeholders platform that we have. And as I mentioned a while ago, it continues to grow as we proceed with this project. Then sometime in June, we will be starting off with our PWD Outreach Festival so that we will be able to disseminate the information that we gathered here, and so that the people from the Talim Island will be able to understand the reason why we are also doing this project. Then we also have the academic closing event so that people from the University of Santo Tomas will be able to also integrate it in their processes, not just in academics, but also in research and also in community development. So now, as we come to the conclusion, disability does not define potential, opportunity does. So when we build inclusive communities, we empower persons with disabilities so that they can showcase their abilities, their talents, so that they can contribute to the community and we can inspire change. So let us now shift our focus from the limitations to the possibilities. Let us highlight the word ability by crossing out BIS in disability. And this is the essence of our project because we really want to promote ability for PWDs. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Christian, for the nice presentation. You can see that you put a lot of effort in establishing the presentation to include pictures and even some videos. So thank you for that. And even with the technical delays, but that's part of the charm of having a intercontinental webinar. So yeah, thank you very much. I think you gave us a lot of food of thoughts. I would like to open the floor and ask the audience if you have some questions, some insights you would like to share, some experience, because Christian and also Kirsten are available to accommodate your questions. So raise your hand and ask the question directly to one of them, please. Or maybe to open the floor, I can ask a little question myself. So you started the presentation by highlighting the regional focus and why you did focus on the area and why, like, the specificities of that. But I was wondering, I can imagine that the topic of the project is quite relevant in other regions as well. Is there some ambition or some question from local governments of other regions to have to do the same exercise there? Is there like a spillover effect possible now or in the future?
Actually, that's a very good insight, Laura. And that's actually part of our future plan. So as we try to increase or to improve our multi-stakeholders platform, yes, you are correct that that the spillover or probably the dissemination will not just be focused at the municipality of Binangonan. Actually, other municipalities have also expressed already their interest for this same project. So it seems that the interest, they've already presented them to us. And maybe after this project, we will try to also replicate some of the activities that we are doing in Binangonan to some other areas. Knowing that we have thousands of islands in the Philippines, we hope that this project will also be replicated on those areas. So the reason, one thing that the team is highlighting on is now the documentation. Because by having a good documentation, we will be able to conduct that replication properly and easily to other areas so that they can just invite us. They can also check the activities that we are doing in this project. So through proper documentation, we will be able to provide easier access for these areas so that they can also do it in their respective places.
Okay, congratulations. That's very, very nice to hear. I see that someone raised a hand. Patrick de Vlieger, please go ahead.
Thank you. First of all, thank you for an excellent presentation and providing us with a lot of context about the project. This was very interesting. I have not been able to work in a place like the Philippines, but I worked in many other areas, and particularly in African areas. But already in the 90s, I think in the African context, there was a sort of new mantra that started, and this mantra was nothing about us without us. And so I wanted to ask, to what extent are you incorporating people with disabilities in the management of this project, in the research that needs to be done, in taking charge of the many challenges of exclusion and stigma and so forth? So, so this is my question.
Thank you so much, Patrick, for your question. So, yes, I think the active involvement of the persons with disabilities here in this project is very crucial, because by having them actively participate in this project, we get to hear their insights, and we get also to feel their insights. So through that, at least their active involvement here provides valuable information for our project. So actually, the president of the Persons with Disability in Binangonan is actively involved in the project from the very beginning up to the monitoring stages. So she's actively monitoring the progress of our project. She's also providing her inputs. So it means that this project was not just conceptualized by academicians or by the project proponents. So we made sure that the PWDs will also have a voice in this project. And I do agree with what you've mentioned, that in order to address all these issues such as the stigma, so we need also to hear it from them. So how do we really address these issues? By empowering our PWDs. And one way to really empower them is to include them in this activity, to make them part of this activity. One of the advocacy that we are pushing for this project is inclusivity. And I believe that one way to make this project inclusive is by involving the persons with disabilities, by allowing them to have a representative, so that they will have a voice in this project. So I think providing them the venue to speak and to be part of this project is a good thing. And I think I do agree with your point a while ago, Patrick, that involving them is really the key for the success also of this project.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you
And
for the nice question. It's also something that came up in my mind. So thank you, and thank you, of course, for the answer. I see someone else has a question. Sylvia, go ahead, please.
Thank you, but I just heard someone, I think Kirsten, you wanted to comment on something as well, so please go
yeah, I
ahead.
just wanted to, no, thank you. I just wanted to add to what Christina said and what Patrick mentions, which is completely true, that even now in the process, because we, of course, we already done 1.5 years almost. So in all the activities that we are now enrolling or executing, we are also getting feedback from the participants. So the PWDs, we already received a lot of input from them, and also in terms of making sure that we address all the barriers, and they are also one of the groups that is consulted in that process as well. So, but of course, what Christine said at the beginning, Talim Island still had a lot of unidentified PWDs. So we first had to identify, or we are identifying them. And then from that point, we include them in all further steps, and also in the creation that we are doing now on the tele-rehabilitation protocols. They will be very important stakeholders in the focus groups to make sure that the protocol that we are designing, that really fits their specific needs. So it's a very relevant thing. And indeed, we started with the PWD Association and their president, and also some PWDs who are in the steering committee as well. And from that, after identification, all the PWDs, which has been done now, we will further include them in fine-tuning the protocol as well. So I just wanted to add that, but yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kirsten. Sylvia, now go ahead, please.
you. Thank you, Christian, for the very interesting presentation. It's great work that you're doing in a collaborative way. And I think in regard of that as well, I would be interested to hearing from you and both also from Kirsten maybe, to hear what for you is the added value to working together between Belgium and the Philippines. Thank you.
Yeah, Sylvia, thank you for that question. So, working with our Belgian counterparts is a big help to our project because they provided the technical support and even the trainings that we needed for this project. So, an example is in telerehabilitation. We must admit that here in the Philippines, telerehabilitation is not really taught well among us. So we only adopted it during the time of pandemic, but we know that telehealth has been in place already even before the pandemic. So I think also the presence of advanced modalities and even instruments that we can use for telerehabilitation. So it's something that we learned when we went there in Thomas More University because that allowed us to explore other possibilities so that we can provide a more holistic approach when it comes to telerehabilitation. But aside from that, they also help us in the capacity building when it comes to research. So another important thing is the statistical analysis of the research. So we have been very vocal about this, that there are certain parts where we need some support when it comes to statistical analysis, and our counterparts from Belgium are always very generous to help us out, especially when analyzing these data, these information. And I believe this partnership is very important as well because their presence, they have also the initiative to also go to these communities so that they themselves will see the situation, the context in Binangonan, in Talim Island. And that is a very important thing because when we were conceptualizing this project, at first I believe that Kirsten and some other colleagues from Belgium somewhat find it difficult to visualize or even to conceptualize the activities that we need to conduct up until they went to Binangonan. That's the only time that they were able to see the real situation there, how it is to really ride the small boats that we have, the motor boats that we have here, the terrains that we needed to traverse so that we could go from house to house on these PWDs. So I think the contribution and the help that is being given by the Belgian counterparts are very, very valuable for this project. It really helped us a lot.
And maybe I can add, it's bi-directional, I would say. It's mutual, both, and I think I can speak for myself and for Wim from KU Leuven, who is, we are the Belgian partners, Thomas More and KU Leuven, that we indeed also learn a lot from, as Christian said, it's only by going there, by really learning about the real context, because you have the overall context, you can imagine some things, but it's really when you're there and when you face real challenges, and that helps us better understand the situation. But also we learn a lot from this partnership, from their insights, because they have a lot of experience when it comes to community working and community-based working, rehabilitation as a whole, and not specifically maybe telerehabilitation, but they do have a lot of experience and insights in how to establish community-based work and how an academic institution can really serve the community at large. Because in their program, as Christian said, in the Simbahayan Development Office, that's really an office within their university who is dedicated to serve communities. And that's also, I think, if I understood it correctly, one of the key features in the universities in the Philippines, where universities are really also obliged to deliver services to certain communities. So we learned a lot from that as well as institutions, I think. And then in terms of the telerehabilitation, I think that what the added value for us there very specifically also is that of course, we do know telerehabilitation also. It's also here in just looking at the small context of Belgium, telerehabilitation is there next to the typical rehabilitation, like in-person rehabilitation. And what is the difference is that in Belgium, most people have access to rehabilitation, and there is telerehabilitation, but it's like an extra something. It's not needed even without telerehabilitation. Most people will get access to rehabilitation, whereas in the Philippines, it's not about and it's about just getting access to. And I think because we do a lot of research specifically in the Experience Hub at Thomas More, there is a lot of research on implementing implementing telerehabilitation. But by doing this research and collaboration in the Philippines, we learn a lot about how to adapt telerehabilitation in a case where it's really needed, where it's really a basic to access services. So there's a lot also from a research perspective. It's also it's an added value for us as an institution as well, and I imagine the same for Wim and KU Leuven. So there are different aspects in which we really see an added value also from our sides towards the Philippine context. I hope that answers your question, Sylvia.
Yes, thank you for elaborating on it. It's great to see how you can strengthen each other in this project as well. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you also on my behalf. Very interesting to see partnership, not only between Philippines and Belgium, but also in Belgium, two partners are involved at Thomas More and KU Leuven. I'm afraid that it's time to end this very, very interesting community talk. So allow me to thank you, the audience, for attending, and thank you for your attention, for your participation during the Q&A. We believe it's beneficial to share experience and insight, so thank you for that. And of course, also special thanks to our speakers, Christian Rimando and Kirsten Schrijns, for this insightful presentation and discussion. Congratulations on the accomplishments. We look forward to the continuation of your project and partnership. And finally, we would like also to welcome you for the next community talk that will take place on Wednesday, February 26th. The talk will be on a completely other topic. It's about remote sensing for urban and rural development and resilience. That is a collaboration between University of Cape Town, University of Voorhare, and University of Venda in South Africa, and KU Leuven in Belgium. So very welcome to join next month. As said in the beginning, this community talk was recorded, so shortly we will publish it on the website so you can rewatch or watch it or parts of it or share with colleagues who might be interested. So stay tuned, check out our website and social media platforms to stay up to date. We wish you a lovely day, everyone, and hope to see you soon again. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.